as you may be aware, the elections are upcoming next year in Nigeria, 2027.
I'm aware.
And there's, even domestically, there's been a lot of questions about how our elections are running in the process. And speaking with Nigeria specifically, do you feel there's anything more that, obviously you have your bill here, is there anything more that the United States can be doing in support, either politically or other ways, that really allow for a fair and free election over there, as opposed to just a formality, and that really speaks hope into the millions of Nigerians that see some of the corruption on a daily basis that you've witnessed firsthand?
Yeah, what I'd say is that we're certainly going to be watching these results and how these elections unfold and how they're executed. And that's something that myself and the administration are going to be paying very close attention to.
You are partnering with Congressman Smith on some bills that are being presented on the floor coming up here. I was hoping you could opine a little bit more on that, and also, how do you feel about, if you had the chance to speak with President Trump, and is he on the same wavelength that you guys are? Do you anticipate receiving more support going forward to continue to fight the good fight that you're being recognized for here today?
Yeah, look, we're working on Chris's bill, which obviously I'm a co-sponsor of that bill, but I'd say more importantly, what people need to pay attention to is the appropriations bill that we're going to have on the floor today, which some call the State Foreign Operations Bill or the National Security State Department Related Programs Bill. There's a lot of language that I put on that bill that's inside of it that relates to Nigeria and the persecution of Christians and restrictions on security assistance to the government of Nigeria and steps that they have to take. That bill is likely to become a law. We're about to hopefully pass that here today. And so there's some pretty strong and aggressive language in that bill that's going to be binding as it relates to our relationship to Nigeria moving forward. And yes, I continue to work with the administration on next steps that we're going to take. I'm actually going to see President Trump tonight. I'll be having dinner with him and some other members. So yeah, I continue to talk to him about these issues, and it's very important to him. He just brought it up in one of his speeches just recently.
Receiving the support today and seeing the appreciation from everyone here on your support and the work that you've done.
Well, thank you. We are called by our Lord to care for our brethren, the least of our brother, and they're certainly not the least. I mean, they're giants when it comes to faith and courage, but situationally, the Christians, especially in Nigeria, are grossly disadvantaged. The government has not been responsive to our concerns about the Fulani, about Boko Haram, ISIS, West Africa, and one of my trips, not even my first trip, more than 20 years ago, there was to bomb down churches, and they were telling me that Boko Haram, was just upset with the president of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan. And I said, no, that's not what this is about. This is about destroying Christians because they're infidels, and then more moderate Muslims who are not into jihadism, they kill them too, but not in the massive numbers that are killed in Nigeria. We know in Nigeria today that there's more in the world, there's more Christians being killed in Nigeria than anywhere else in the world. China tortures, incarcerates, they don't necessarily kill. In Nigeria, they're slaughtered. So we're calling again upon the Nigerian government to do more, do a lot more. The President of the United States has really made this a very important part of his foreign policy, and that goes for Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
This has to get out with President Trump.
And we didn't get that with Biden. I asked him repeatedly, and I asked the Secretary of State repeatedly to impose CPC, country of particular concern, on Nigeria because of the repression of Christians. And they wouldn't do it. They said the Fulani are attacking and slaughtering Christians and destroying churches, for example, because of climate change. I said, that's absurd. How dare you say that? We know what they're doing, and we've had many, as you know, witnesses of my good friend, the pastor, whom we've talked about these things for decades. We've got to get Nigeria to a point where they respect the government and that they provide the security safeguards that people of faith need.
There was a current Congressman, Riley Moore, who just released some very important reports, some of which unfortunately showed some correlations between some illegal operational mining and funding of extremist violence against Christians. Since the Nigerian government is struggling to curb that, I was wondering, do you see a need for the United States to push stricter oversight into how foreign investment and resource extraction are being used to fuel some of those atrocities?
Oh, I think that would be a necessary step if the Nigerian government won't step up now and get control of the situation. I think it's important to kind of back up real quickly and say, you've got a number of terrorist groups that are operating in Nigeria today and have been for the last 5 to 10 years and want to establish a caliphate. To fund that, you're doing it through this extraction mineral work. And so that's where we've got to step in and say, we're not going to take it. We're going to block it, those minerals from coming into the global commerce, if you don't get this under control. And so I think we really should step up. We did this before on blood diamonds previously out of Africa. We've done it before on conflict commodities coming out of DRC. Now it's time to do that in Nigeria.
Okay. There's also another unfortunate correlation that's happening now between the increasingly larger security budget and the diminishing or barely existing ground forces of security that's around a lot of the necessary areas. I think that to anybody that kind of suggests that there's some corruption that's going on there, and with the current Nigerian administration managing those funds, is there something that the U.S. should possibly reconsider as far as, providing unconditional support or, unconditional, appreciation for the administration that's there, when that administration seems unable to, protect, or just unwilling to protect its own citizens?
These are the comments that I made here tonight. I said, either the Nigerian administration will seize this moment of help and support from the United States and West and provide security for all the people in Nigeria, including the Christian population, and the moderate Muslims get attacked by the militant Islamists as well. Either you're going to protect everybody, or you could see this nation devolve into civil war. You could lose the nation. And the government of Nigeria needs to pick peace and prosperity in this moment, and not the graft and corruption and pulling this money off to the side. I think the United States ought to be more diligent ourselves on who we actually fund, and not send it just to the Nigerian government, but to people that we work with, that we have some sense that the money is going to hit the target that it's supposed to go to. We did this in northern Iraq for a while, where we pulled funds away from the United Nations and we gave it to local operators that we could track and see where they were actually funding the money. This is a problem you run into a lot of countries that don't have good accountability structures in it and don't have a culture of accountability, is that you've got to find local actors that can be responsible and that you can track to be able to spend these funds, these resources on security and other things wisely and prudently to hit the target that you're trying to get at.
Opine more on the current administration with President Trump and with some of these bills that are being trying to be pressed to the floor for being passed, and how that was different from the prior administration, and how there can be, I guess I would say, more hope for persecuted Christians that are in Nigeria now, and also why is now a reason to be optimistic, or the most optimistic, than in prior years?
Well, you're aware of the last administration taking Nigeria off the list of countries of particular concern. So if you're not paying attention and acknowledging what's actually happening on the ground, so much so that they took the country off a country of particular concern. So it took it off everyone's radar. That in itself was an atrocity. But the difference now is this administration has boldly come out before the election and after the election immediately and started calling it out for what it was. So there is a rare opportunity where you have an administration and you have a Congress and they are interested in what's happening in Nigeria and they want to stop it. So the hope is that Nigeria, the United States, this administration and civil society are now all at this time focused on the same exact initiative. And that is to bring peace to Nigeria and stop the violent extremism. So we do have a very rare window and opportunity here for the next couple of years with this administration. And that should bring great hope.
There's been reports from the ground in Nigeria that indicate that not only has there been a targeted killing of Christians that's not just continuing, but it's escalating, especially recently, in both frequency and in brutality. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, and also the United States and also the Mercury One, is the current international approach failing to protect these communities? And is there a moral imperative for the United States to take a more vocal and active stance?
There is a moral imperative. You know, it depends on administrations and who's in the White House at the time. This administration has boldly and courageously come out and called it for exactly what it is. They've also taken bold action, and they have brought awareness to the situation. So there is a unique opportunity in the United States, along with Nigeria. Nigeria, the country and the people, they have to do their part as well. But the United States bringing awareness to it and saying this is not going to happen anymore. Morally, it is not something that can be tolerated, and it needs to be stopped and put an end to. So we find ourselves right now at a very unique time where you've got awareness, you've got an administration, and you've got many organizations and people that are locking arms and won't stand for this. We will boldly and courageously stand up, take action, civil society, the administration, and the United States. And certainly there are many congressmen and senators that are trying to get bills passed to put constraints on the country of Nigeria if it continues to happen. So I believe we have a rare opportunity where Nigeria and the United States can work together, and we can bring about peace and stop the terrorism and persecution of Christians and religious minorities that don't believe in the extremism.
Okay.
I mean, when you look at social media, when you talk to people, people make it out to be that there are these bandits. But like you touched on, a lot of people believe that this is government-sanctioned terrorism. Is that your opinion?
It is not sanctioned in an official sense. The government, the complex thing about it is that the government has the largest army of any country in Africa. We have at least 235,000 soldiers. In addition, they have a very large police force. And their army and security establishment is fighting against crime. They are fighting against the jihadists. They're fighting and losing a lot of soldiers every month when they're fighting Boko Haram. And there's several varieties of Boko Haram. Okay. So it's not officially sanctioned. No, the government makes the case that it's doing the best that it can. And the Nigerian government is an ally of the United States.
Yes.
This is probably the most important alliance with an African country the United States has, because Nigeria is the biggest country.
Yes.
Okay. But what we mean is that behind the scenes, there are agents, people in the Nigerian government who are colluding or supporting or giving information to the bad guys.
Okay. And what do you think should be done by the current Nigerian administration, or needs to be done perhaps from external forces to address this issue, which is only getting worse?
Well, I didn't say it was getting worse. You did.
I did.
But I agree with you.
Yeah.
It is getting worse. And I happen to know because I run Truth Nigeria and I report every single day. We post stories of attacks and massacres, and it is getting worse. There's more violence now than there was last year.
Yeah.
Last year, there was more violence than the year before.
Yeah.
So we recommend that the government of Nigeria be changed, but that's very difficult to do because all the elections in Nigeria are rigged. In the United States, many people believe that the election of 2020 was rigged. There's some foundation for that. But I personally watched the Nigerian election of 2019 and the election of 2023 online with my Nigerian friends, and we all concluded it absolutely was rigged, and the evidence was online.
Yeah.
And the U.S.